Hey, Frozen, what's up, man? Happy Sunday. Hey, Chris. Yeah, that's cool, dude. Happy to see you tonight, though. may have been muted, but just in case I was, what's up, man? Yeah, you made it in time. In fact, I had just forgot to do something. I don't remember. I'm trying to make sure I got everything set up. I think I do. Yep, let's kick it off. Why is this all jacked up? Oh, I know why. Because this is casting a shadow. These are little micro tennis balls for Peaches. So Peaches is a small dog, right? And I'm like trying to figure out where's the shadow coming from. These are little tiny tennis balls. See? They're just little. She got a tiny snoot. She can't play with the full-size tennis ball, so I got like an entire little bag of them. And it was just casting a shadow on the green screen. I was like, where's this random new shadow coming from? What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday. Man, it feels so nice in the office right now. Typically, it's been really hot because I've got computers over here, I've got computers over there. It's electricity central in this particular room. And I could not figure out what was going on. And so I was like, let me turn the temperature down a little bit. Maybe it's extra humid, something's going on. No, go check the thermostat. And the thing is set to 90. I'm like, what the F is going on here, bro? So I start looking at it. I've had this thermostat try to like think we were out of the house and do like an energy saver mode. Wasn't that? Finally, I asked Coney Badger. I was like, hey man, did you go mess with the thermostat? Did you mess with this? And he can't reach it, but he can go get a step stool and take it over there, and then he can reach it and mess with it. And no, he didn't do it. No, it turns out Agent Zero just saw it, just decided to start pushing buttons on it, had cranked the thermostat up to 90. Thank God it was set to cold only, because if it had been set to heat, we'd have been cooked in the house. So I set it back to its proper temperature. I'm like, oh, finally. So now I'm not like sweating my butt off in the studio. Hey, Isavano, what's up, man? What's the easiest way to switch into a cybersecurity position? That depends on where you're at now. So it depends on what your starting point is. What kind of role do you have currently? A software developer, mostly developing in SQL. All right, I'd say probably, and the other question is, a lot of people are like, hey, I want to go into cybersecurity, but that can be a pretty broad description. Are you wanting to work on the defensive side or the offensive side? Because I've worked in both. I currently am in offensive security. I'm a penetration tester and red teamer. So which area of cybersecurity are you thinking of going? There's usually three major delineations there. You've got governance, risk, and compliance, which deals with basically policies, procedures, paperwork, making sure that the administrative side of the house is taken care of. And that largely pairs up with the blue team side, mostly. And that is, hey, we're going through and we're developing secure code, doing like sec DevOps, or managing endpoint security, deploying new security products to the environment, doing incident response. And then you have offensive security, which is breaking all of the blue team and GRC guys' fun. I want to go into offensive, but that's the hardest to go into because everyone wants experience already. True. And that is one of the big hurdles that you do have going into offensive security. So that's why I typically suggest to tell folks in the beginning, when you're trying to move into security in general, let alone offensive security, typically the easiest position to go get a role in is working on blue team. So you're doing something like security engineering. That was one of my previous roles. We went through and we managed the firewalls, we managed the web proxy, we looked at all the antivirus and managed that, took care of the SIM activity, things like that. That's probably one of the easier roles to move into because it's not as popular. But I'll tell you this, though. Blue team tends to get paid better than red team. And just on average. And the reason for that is because when push comes to shove, if you need to cut security budget, you cut it from your offensive team pretty much before anything. So you don't typically see a lot of cuts on the blue team side when that happens, because the blue team side is absolutely necessary. The red team side is a great enhancement and very important. But when you get down to like, hey, we got to get down to the bare necessities, blue team is really in that department there. Um, so I would say look at what you got in the blue side. I would say unless you really like playing detective, I wouldn't go for something like incident response or forensics or anything like that. Given your SQL environment background, I would say one thing you might be able to do. Yeah, man, it's a whole thing. Cybersecurity is a very large umbrella. So I would say if you wanted to work off your current experience and move into offensive security and do it through the defensive path, one thing you could do is keep your SQL development experience and begin working maybe into secure web app development. So secure coding on the web app side. From there, move into offensive testing of web apps. So, because that's one area that's always really in need of folks. Something you'll have to take into account, though, is whatever your kind of current salary is, because I'm not sure how much like a SQL developer really earns. That's just not a familiar data point to me. But take a look at that and then see like, hey, what would like a new penetration tester who specializes in web applications, what could their earning potential be? So you're going to be able to want to balance those out as well. But I'll tell you, a lot of SQL has trouble, especially when it comes like around PHP. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to do is whenever I get into an environment, if I see a SQL server, there's lots of interesting tricks you can do for pivoting like off of a SQL server when you compromise it and getting into different areas of Active Directory, or in a Linux environment. It's actually on Linux, it's a little bit more tricky dropping down into the underlying operating system, but it can be done. But there's all sorts of fun tricks you can do with it. So I would say that might be a potential viable path for you, is look at, okay, could I potentially expand my SQL experience into understanding web vulnerabilities, specializing in something like SQL injection. So you have a starting point and you've got a point of familiarity, and then branch out from there. It's like, okay, cool. What other, web technologies am I familiar with? Start looking at the security implications for those. I'm a big proponent of you need to understand the underlying technology before you try to start securing it. And in fact, I'll give you a case in point here. Let me find this tweet real fast. I just sent this out earlier today. Here we go. So this guy, this is why I set this out. I constantly bang the drum on tech literacy, because if you don't understand the technology, essentially it becomes wizardry to the muggles. And what happened here, this guy got a letter that looked legit. He got a new package. He used a Ledger wallet for his crypto, and he kept his private passphrase a secret. He gets this very official looking package and letter coming through here. It looked legit, had all the proper logos and everything. Even the letter inside seemed official, and it was explaining it was a replacement device after a security breach. So now, anybody with your basic security understanding or tech understanding would be like, okay, how does a ledger, which is a USB style device designed to store crypto, all the keys, off of your main computer, disconnected from your computer, how does it get compromised? What's the interaction here? So what ended up happening is the letter said your old device has been compromised, set up a new one and enter your recovery phrase to secure your assets. If you ever get that recovery phrase from somebody, you can essentially go through and generate all the private keys to all of their crypto ever and drain their wallets, which, spoiler alert, is what happened to this guy. And it even had some of his real data in it from data breaches, had his name and address and his email. Those are not secure pieces of information and should never be used for authentication. For authentication. Name, address, and email, they're stupid easy to get. So he follows the instructions, he gets his new ledger, puts in his 24 word recovery phrase, and within a few minutes, his crypto wallets are completely emptied. So what ended up happening is they sent him a modified ledger. They had gone through, they had broken into it, modified it, and they had essentially spearfished it. They sent this to him and made it look super legit. And this should have raised all sorts of alarm bells. And it did a little bit for him, but it seemed just legit enough, which is always the goal for a social engineering campaign. It doesn't need to look 100% perfectly legit. It needs to be just legit enough to make the customer act on it, or the target. I say customer because I do it for pay. I don't do it for, I don't know. I call these guys working on commission. So I would say basically that recovery phrase should never go into a new device that you can't control. Hey, Cypher, what's up, man? Yeah, so that was the first security story of the day that greeted me, and I was like, I knew exactly where this was going. I felt bad for the dude. But again, understanding that tech literacy and how the technology works, and then how you can abuse it and manipulate it is super helpful. And that's the route I recommend everybody take, especially if they're pivoting from a different area of information technology into security. Hang on one second. Double check something. Okay, yeah, it's on. Sorry, YouTube's analytics were saying the stream wasn't running. I was like, yeah, it sure is. Is it being done? All right, let's check something here. So yeah, after I got the AC fixed, the house has been so much more comfortable. Do you think if I do not have any practical experience is a problem? I can do Portswigger Labs, but I'm not sure if anyone else will value this as experience since it's not the real world. Portswigger Labs is amazing. And yeah, it's not real world. In the beginning, especially when you move into kind of like offensive security, there's only really two areas that you can use to kind of prove your technical prowess, and that is your certifications and your body of work. So if you have decent certifications, like if you've got, like one of the guys in the channel here just got his CEH. That's a very good starting point, even though it's not, a lot of people see that like as the end. Like, no, that is the beginning. He just got his CEH. Then he's going to work on his EJPT, which is, I think it's eLearn Security's junior penetration tester. And then you've got something like the OSCP and 0 Point Security's RTO course. Each of those kind of build on each other. Really, the OSCP used to be the gold standard, but even then, it's not really anymore. It's considered the entry-level certification for penetration testers. So you can kind of work down that path for it. One thing you could also do is start a little blog. Start a blog. You can even do it like on a GitHub blog page and go through and be like, hey, by the way, we're going to look at a new exploit that came out for this web framework. And so find something that's got an example, it's got proof of concept, and you could find a Docker container for. If you ever watch Hack Smarter, Tyler Ramsby, he talks about this. He goes and finds CVEs by basically downloading the Docker containers and then working through it because it's a complete snapshot of the program. But go get those and then use that Docker container, kind of connect over to it and use the things you have learned to kind of reconstruct how you could have found that vulnerability. And that would help out a ton. So then you could like have that entire process detailed and logged in your blog of, hey, this is how I went through and figured this out. And be, you don't have to be, demonstrably detailed, but you want to at least cover all the steps. Like, okay, well, cool. This kind of leads us to coming here and how we followed the breadcrumbs to kind of find those different pieces of information. Even though there's others trying to eat off OffSec's lunch. Yeah. Now, actually, so speaking of OffSec, I mean, it's really hard to recommend them if you are, if you're getting like into cybersecurity and you are outside of IT. If you've already got a salary and you could afford like to go purchase your own training, that's not such a big deal. The big problem I have is now OffSec has gotten so expensive for like their individual learner. Here, let me see how much this is now. I want to say it's 2,500. Let me see what their plans are. Plans and pricing, individuals. So like their Learn One course, which is like all you can eat. And even then it's got some pitfalls to it. What is it? Are they not showing their price up front anymore? That's always sketch. Here we go. So this, oh God, it's gone up more because I think it used to be 2,500 a year. Now it's 2,750. Um, yeah, 2,750 Cypher. Yeah, and so you can go through and you could select your course that you want for it. This is not such a bad thing if you've already got a job where you're making a decent income and you have that disposable income to come through and make a one-time, like for the year, outlay in capital to switch positions, even if it's a lateral movement. That's what I did when I moved into offensive security. I took a lateral move. I went from systems engineering, security engineering, over to offensive security. And when I made that shift, thankfully I didn't have to take a pay cut. So, like for example, this one right here, let me blow this up a little bit. Covers a year of access to labs for of a selected course. There's 2 exam attempts, access to all the fundamental content, access to the proving grounds practice, access to Pen 210, which is the Wi-Fi one, and the OSWP exam attempt, which is I think web testing professional, and also Pen 301, which is like their introductory. This was like the pre, if I remember correctly, I believe that's like the pre-OSCP course. That's my big concern cutting over, is that I'll take a pay cut. And that might be what you have to do. So I was prepared to take a pay cut when I moved into offensive security because I was expecting to get a higher psychic income, which was true. I did enjoy the work a heck of a lot more. Up until the point I was managing the team, and then I didn't. That part was a pain in the butt. Are layoffs hitting the cybersecurity industry like software devs? Oh yeah. In fact, gosh, what was it? CrowdStrike actually just had a big layoff. Let's see. Yeah, CrowdStrike lays off 500 jobs cut as the company shifts to AI-powered operations. And now this is, I think, on there. CrowdStrike makes an EDR, endpoint detection and response, which is really probably the world-class one. It's incredibly difficult to get around. A lot of my clients have CrowdStrike, and it's a huge pain in the butt sometimes. So, but yeah, even then, I think they had a. Let's read this. They shed 5% of the workforce over a few weeks of reflection to push and grow revenues. And strategy will see AI assume some of the duties the human employees now have. Company, in its filing for the SEC this week, said it will lay off 500 workers as part of its larger effort to make its operations more efficient and hit a $10 billion annual recurring revenue. At the same time, CEO said to employees it stressed the importance of AI in improving the Austin, Texas-based company executives and execution and efficiency, writing that AI has always been foundational to how we operate. AI flattens the hiring curve and helps us innovate from idea to product faster. It streamlines go-to-market, yada, yada, yada. Let's see if they talked about which types of workers they were cutting, though. This is the most recent one that I remember. What would be the very bottom of offensive security, like 100K? Probably about that, especially considering the amount of inflation the economy's had over the last couple years. I'd say 100 probably is about the minimum for like a junior penetration tester. Now, also, you have to remember that that's a really competitive role to be in. And one of the areas that a lot of people don't fully appreciate for offensive security when it comes into that is it is a constant learning cycle. So one of the areas that you're basically going to fall into one of two categories in there. You're either going to be in-house offensive security, where you're just testing your company that is paying your salaries, web apps, their systems, their networks, you name it. And the other one is consultancy, which is the only area that I've ever worked in. I've never worked in-house. So companies come and hire my team to come in and perform offensive assessments of their environment of various kinds, usually around Active Directory, Azure, AWS, things like that. And so if you're working in-house, it could be a little bit different. I don't have a lot of visibility into that side. A lot of times for me, it seems like it can get a little boring because you're looking at the same attack surface every time. But regardless, if you're on the in-house or consultancy side, there's constantly new stuff coming out in security. That's why I was really trying hard on Tuesday nights to get back into the news stream, because it helped me keep situational awareness. There's just so much coming out all the time. It's very difficult to keep track of. I feel like stocks are being hit hard by AI first. Yeah, absolutely. Even though, you know what's crazy, Cypher? Because look at this. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to work on this project with the little hacking bot, because we ran into a bug last night, remember? One of the bugs here was whenever it was parsing the human input here, it said, hey, this is what you should do and how you should process this. We specifically told it up here. Let's see. Where was this? Oh, that's right. We had an additional directive in here. This probably should get moved over to the system prompt, but that's fine. We told it that the output, tool, and answer parameters should be blank, and the pre-flight check should be set to false. Now, all those were kind of correct, except look at this. For some reason, in the tool array, it started pre-populating tools that hadn't been executed yet. This was just generating the task list, right? And so it's like, oh yeah, this one you'll use Nmap, this one you'll use Nmap, this one you could use Nmap or curl, and this one you use GoBuster. And I was like, what are you even doing? Why are you suggesting tools that I haven't even told you what tools are available yet? And that's not even Stinger's job. Stinger's job is just to define the task and then assign it to the correct agent. So there's still a lot of pitfalls that can happen in there. This did not start occurring until last night. We weren't having this issue about this additional information. Let's see. Going through SOC 2 right now. My condolences, man. I got a funny story about SOC 2. So we were going through, I don't remember if it was SOC 1 or SOC 2 compliance, but essentially, at my last company I worked at, we worked in a complex here. So there was this giant building over here, and it was like a shared office space. So like had offices here and here and here. So like each of these is like a different office happening here. And then we actually built ourselves our own standalone office here. This was a pretty cool building. So we were in a tiny little office over here. We literally just moved across the parking lot to this building, quickly outgrew it, moved back to this building. And then while we're in this building, we're undergoing SOC compliance. Also, just for fun, later, my portion of the company got split off and we moved back to this building. It was just like playing ping pong between the buildings. Anyway, so we were undergoing the SOC compliance for this, and part of that was control of access cards. And so there were external doors to the building, but also in our office space, which was a huge portion of it, we had our own access control doors right here. So these exterior doors didn't unlock until after I already got to the office right here. And so I could come into the exterior doors, then I'd actually have to go up some stairs and then come into the our office space. And so I had a badge that had 24-hour access to the office space, but not to those exterior doors. So I requested one, and they said, sorry, we can't get you one because that's a controlled item as part of our SOC compliance. I'm like, you realize this is a shared building, right? Do we have to audit the access cards for every other tenant in the building? And they essentially told me, shut up and quit asking questions. Again, always finding the flaws and everything. I'll tell you also another funny story. So in that same office space, right? So this is our office space, and there was like a little entryway and a hallway and some storage buildings kind of over here. And then there was a huge space set aside for us, which was the red team room. And in the red team room, we had our own badge access right here. Except on move-in day, they didn't set up the doors correctly and nobody had access to it. So I had to basically break out my physical pen testing tools and just bypass my way through there. I ended up finding over here in the storage room, I found some old racks, like racks for like loading up rack-mounted servers, right? Those little thin rails. And I didn't have like a can of compressed air or anything. So I took a little piece of paper, and there was a little gap between the door because it was a glass door. This was like an entire glass room here. And I just put a piece of paper on it, and I slid that little rack through the door, and I waved it until it hit the motion sensor. And then I just propped the door open. It's crazy. So many janky fixes that happen there. Can you use LangGraph as a personal chatbot? I caught a seminar in system prompting and realized the platform I've been using doesn't have a good way to do that. Yeah, you totally could. And in fact, I know there's ways to do it. Trying to think if I have any good examples that I could show you that I could think of. I used to have a slip the latch at my old. I used to have to slip the latch at my old work to be able to punch out if I stayed too late. Thankfully, we didn't have to punch in and out, but we did have to do timekeeping. That's one of the downsides usually of consultancies is you do have to go keep track of your time so they can bill it against the project appropriately. Which is always silly to us because we never billed by the hour, we billed by the project. What am I thinking about, actually, as I'm looking at this? The problem is probably this context here. We probably should add something to the system prompt right here. Yeah, like this part probably should be migrated from the user prompt up to the system prompt. That would probably help mitigate this issue. As I was thinking about this, because this was the issue we ran into last night while we were trying to do like one more quick run of the environment. Oh, I gotta go boot up the computer. Start machine. Oh no, you're not authorized, you piece of junk. Log me in, damn it. There we go. What's crazy is it logs me in and then it doesn't refresh the UI to actually let me boot the try-hack me box. I'm trying to think if I can... Actually, hang on, let me see if I can find something. Fight the planet! What's up, man? Let me see. Eden Marco is a guy that wrote the LangGraph and LangChain courses I kind of sped run through Udemy. It looks like he has a new, actually, is this a new course he put out? Let me see. No, I'm pretty sure I already have this one. Yeah, I think that's the one I've already got. But let me see. Let me look at his GitHub repository quick. So I think he actually may have one in here. If you wanted an example, it doesn't really explain it. But let's see. Branches. It might be this React agent here. Let me see if this is the right one. I don't think so. I think one of these though, he added. Maybe it was the reflection agent, where he actually went through and added like a Flask front end to it. I want to say it was one of these. Let's see. I guess not. I thought he had one in here. Maybe it was the Reflexion agent. Let's see. The seventh keys, acknowledgement, development. The message graph, add readme. Now, I guess he didn't have it in here. He did in one of his LangChain courses. But essentially what you could do is you could go set up a really quick Flask interface that just renders it back and forth. So yeah, Cypher, you could totally use it as like your own little chatbot and then have additional functionality you could add on top of it. And really that's what a lot of people don't realize is when they're going through and they're interacting with these various chat interfaces like ChatGPT or Anthropic or Gemini, whatever, what you're doing is you're actually not talking directly to the language model. You're talking to it through their AI agent system, their program that has the RAG features, all the different tools that they can call, web search, things like that. You're not talking purely to the LLM. That's what you do over the API. We're missing out not having a system prompt. I think it's been helpful. I want to come over and I might make a minor modification here. Let me come over to Stinger. Let's come up to the initializer code real fast. Yeah, so all we did was we did a quick little dirty hack here where we said in the context we added that the output tool and answer parameters should be, and pre-flight check should be false. Which really, if we're, what is this? This is our task prompt template. Let's go find that real quick. Yeah, we could actually just move this directly over into the system prompt. I think that would be probably the smartest way to do this. Why is it not scrolling? Come on. So we'll grab the context. That is fine. And then let's bring this over. And then we'll just replace this right here. Boop. There we go. The output tool and answer parameters should be blank, and the pre-flight check should be set to false. Excellent. Got a dangling double quote there. There we go. Moving this over should probably help alleviate this issue just a wee bit, and we should be good. I'm using t3.chat, which is nice because it has a ton of models and gets updates regularly, but it doesn't really have a robust system prompting. Gotcha. I have really been enjoying LangGraph and LangChain. And in fact, I had a modification built in here where we could use OpenRouter. And with OpenRouter, you have access to tons of different types of language models that you could use. However, it was missing a few key pieces that we needed, stuff like the structured output and things like that. So instead, I decided to go ahead and just pin it to Anthropic for now. And then while it's running through with Anthropic, we can let it just kind of chill out. And then eventually we can go and say, okay, you can do Anthropic or you can do ChatGPT. We'll add like a pre-execution check that says which it's going to look at the environment variables and then maybe ask the user which one you want to use. That's a quality of life feature we don't need right now. I'm going to add it in later. But let's see, where's the utils? Yeah, so over here in OpenRouter, what we had was in this guy, all we did was we actually overloaded the OpenAI chat because OpenRouter uses the OpenAI standard for its APIs back and forth. And so what we did is we just built the OpenAI router as a superclass of chat OpenAI. And then we just went through and made a couple quick modifications to it. We could do this. The problem though is we didn't have some of the fun features that we wanted with it. So eventually I just abandoned that part. That's just dangling code that I haven't taken out. Mostly because I like it. It's a good little spot to have. All right, now that the try hack me box is up, let me go grab that IP address real quick. And what we'll do is we'll drop this right Shamir. And let's go try this again. Because what I need to do is, let me close that out. Let's go drop in our seed data here. Ooh, let's see. What's the hidden directory? Oh, I didn't adjust this actually. I meant to save this. What URLs have upload forms? Let's go. Yeah, I need to replace this last directive here. Do one more thing here. We'll do another star. And then we'll tell it, hey, get a remote code execution. There we go. All right, let me go update this copy quick here. Make sure it actually copied over. Awesome. And this probably actually should get changed to like a question and answer type setup. Yeah, it's fine. We're gonna let this run. At least now with the minor update we made to GoBuster, it only executes in like 20 seconds as opposed to like 3 minutes. If we keep running into that overload issue, I'll go ahead and rework it so the language model calls have a back off parameter where it says, hey, if we get an error saying the API is overloaded, we'll back it off for 5 seconds and then we'll try again. Okay, so Recon should be running Nmap right now. Let's see. Yep, there it is. And then now it's sending that Nmap data over, it'll format it. So this shouldn't take too long. How long did the last one we did take? It says it took 200 seconds, but I think that's because it got stuck in like some really weird execution loops. Let's see if it does it again here before we start getting to it. All this was running really nicely. Okay, so it looks like it's done over on the recon side. Now it's going to enumerator. If we look at the state, let's see what the tasks we had set up here. This is totally not cool. It looks like it did it again. Hold on 1 second. Interrupts. Enum output formatter. Oh, it's not going to let me interrupt on... Ah, crap. I was hoping I could come in here to enum and actually do an interrupt on that. But here's what I was looking at real fast. Let me collapse this down. If we look at the tasks. Let's see. Oh, come on, man. Here, let me just open it up over here. Because it will stream the updates as they come in. But if we go over here to like host update, we look at the input. See, look at this. It's still throwing stuff in here. Like, hey, it said, hey, we got an Nmap coming through here and whatnot. That is suboptimal. I don't know why it's saying, hey, by the way, tool is GoBuster. Hold on. Ah, damn it. I didn't save it. So it executed, see, look at this. It didn't update the system prompt. That's what I love about this this interface. And one of the reasons why I've been liking LangGraph is because I didn't do a Control S. It didn't hot load the new change in here. But you know what? We'll just see what happens. Hey, look at this though. Katana is actually crawling right now. Let's see. I'll help you crawl the discovered directories and find URLs with upload forms. From the context, I see there are 2 interesting directories to explore, panel and uploads. Let's start crawling these directories to discover more content. And it called Katana Headless Crawler. Nice. That's exactly what I wanted it to do. Now, we've never run Katana because we haven't asked it to do this before. Oh no, did we get an exit code? Yep. Failed to connect to the bus, failed to connect to socket. Yeah. Did the execution just straight up die on us? Yeah, it's hung up on us right here. Do a cancel on it. Let's go ahead and just kill that run. So something happened with Katana where it did not like it. Let's go see if we can... Let's see what happened here. So when we ran Katana, so it sent the command to run it, tac U. Could not create standard crawler, failed to get debug URL, failed to connect to the bus, failed to connect to socket, missing X server or display. The platform failed to initialize. That's weird. Because this Katana one was actually a built-in from RoboPages. Did they not test this themselves? Anyway, let's go copy that. And we're going to try running it ourselves real quick. So we can debug it just a bit. So all right, so let's go see if anybody's got any documentation on running Katana. Katana headless browser documentation. Let's see what they've got going on here. So, by the way, if you're not familiar with this, a headless browser should be one that doesn't actually have a display, and it's used for, so you have basically a browser on the back end, like in like as a service or a daemon. It's running there so you can render all the JavaScript and then get that rendered information back out. Let's see. Katana requires Go 121. Actually, hold on. They've already got the Docker file in here, and it looks like that was already pushed up to Project Discovery.
Bullshit! I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
You're so full of crap, Frozen. Let's look at the options it was running with. So when this ran, so we passed in attack U, which was the URL, and then attack system Chrome. Let's go see where that is. Headless system Chrome. Okay. Yeah, you with your little dancing dinosaurs. Use locally installed Chrome browser instead of Katana. All right. Let me check something. Let's look at the Docker file here. What was the base image they're using, and do we have Chrome? Okay, so we start with Alpine. Let's see. So we install Chromium. So that should be good. We should have a Chromium install ready to go and run. And then what else are we running from this? Let's see. So we're telling them to run a headless. I don't know what SB and what JSON-L is. So let's go. Let's check what those are. Oh, SB is show browser on screen with headless mode. I don't think we want that. We can't show the browser. It's in a Docker container. There's no X connection happening. And then what's our JSON-L output? Let's see. Write output in JSON-L format. What's JSON-L format? I know JSON. File format where each line of the file contains a valid JSON object. Weird. Okay. Hadn't seen that before. Let's try running it without that show browser option in here. Yeah, there we go. Still weird that they would put that in here. Okay, cool. So we're getting info. It's when Jason's a big loser. Let's see if I can find something real fast. Nah, it's not showing up in here. There was a funny meme, and I had made one a long time ago, but it was... I had taken a picture of Jason Momoa. And I converted it to ASCII art and then actually formatted it as proper JSON. So it was Jason Momoa. Closing page could not get this from deadline exceeded. Oh, what is this? I've not used Katana a ton. Deadline exceeded. Let me see here. Issue.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Let's see. Type bug. Right? And it's just closed, nothing. JSON-L with headless. Options for Katana crawl results in runtime context deadline exceeded. So what does this come back at? Let's see. This is an old issue. Same issue in 122. Let's see what version of Katana we're actually running here. Let's see. We're running 113? What? And here they're talking about running it like 122. Have they just not updated the Docker container? What's the latest on this? Now we're just going down a rabbit hole. Docker Hub. Let's see, what were the tags on this one? What's the latest? Latest was 113. Hold on. But they're talking about in this issue. Same error on the latest version of 122. Have they just not pushed the newest version up yet? Hold on. What version are they up to now? I'm so lost here. Why are they talking about issue version 122? Did he mean 112 maybe? I'm trying to check. Let's look at something here. If we come over to latest, the tag here says it's 113. Hmm. 112 is the super secret version for only the cool kids, right? Timestamp, let's see. Oh, it's a long log. I was hoping it had like a metadata entry in here that said, hey, this is what we're looking at. So in releases, 113 is the latest one. That was released 3 weeks ago. Hold on. We go back over to code. We have different branches here. Like, is that maybe something in the dev branch? Still very, very odd. To have been a typo. I don't see where they're referencing 122 in here. Hey, Raglan, what's up, man? Thanks for coming online. I love that name, by the way. And especially since my kids have just been watching Wreck-It Ralph. I was like trying to find a movie for them to watch. And I'm like, I'm gonna wreck it! And now I'm picturing you like that, but you're on the LAN, right? It's like, I'm gonna wreck the LAN! That has to have been a typo. Talking about version 1.2. Oh, hold on. Maybe I just can't read properly. Might be an edge case. I should just adjusting the timeout value to see if that helps. Let me know how it goes. Okay, so let's try that real quick. Back over to this. Let's go find that timeout parameter. Maybe that's the issue. Default's 10 seconds. Yeah, we can bump that. We can bump that a wee bit. So one of the things we had to do was take out that show browser, and then we'll do a timeout of 30 seconds. Let's try that. Hold on, 1.04 at the top. I mean, this looks like it's not giving any output data, probably because that's silent, which we probably should go add that because context deadline exceeded. What? Let's try something else here real quick. Let's take out the JSON L, and actually I'm going to drop in silent here because I don't want the giant katana banner because that's just going to eat up processing and tokens. I also noticed something else we haven't. So the parameter that we're hitting, right? This should be the URL that we want to try to crawl. There's no links to panel, it's hidden. So what we'd have to do is actually tell it to go hit panel. In some way, it'd have to figure that out. Really, I guess the best thing for it to do would not be to use Katana, but to actually come through and say, hey, we need to probably just curl this web page. Let's try this again. What is that emote you just sent, Frozen? Pew, pew, pew. Hey, Sin, what's up, man? Dude, we're just working on the little hackbot some more. Trying to get it to give us some decent output here. Let me pipe that to JQ. Let's run it again. It's the guy who's the really good geoguesser. Let's see what we've got here. So we did it get to that JS file, and we got was the response was not found, which is weird. Panel, what did we get? Context deadline exceeded, could not get DOM. That's so weird. This again goes back to what I was talking about where I mentioned that if you're having trouble understanding, like, you really gotta stress test your toolkit because let's look at this. Because I understand like these kind of pitfalls, especially if you try to like automate a bit of your information here, you're gonna run into something like this. Seems like they have implemented anti-scraping or bot detection because it works on other websites. I don't think that's the case here. Let's see. I'm going to close this favor and discussion to help, so we don't have two locations. All right, so what was issue 608 here? They seem to have some kind of anti-crawler streams which cause the page to load very slowly, eventually causing the page load to fail, unable to obtain the required information. First, just a reminder that all our tools are only to be used on targets you have approval for. If the sites don't want you to crawl, it means they're probably out of scope. Second, have you tried with a longer timeout flag to see if you can wait out the anti-crawling measures? I mean, just for grins and giggles, let's go try that, and we'll crank up the timeout. We'll set it to 30 seconds, or 60 seconds, we'll see what happens. Because when we view this in the browser, The context is not very long. What are we hitting here? Yeah, let's try to hit that JS file, which is nothing. Give it a second here because it's going to have about, we have to wait it out for like a minute to see if that timeout actually happens. Because if I come over here, right? I can drop this, right? The panel is not very big. The DOM is not huge. Like if we do an inspect on it, right? Or hell, even just like a view page source, right? There's no reason that that should be failing like that. Right, look, because I can expand this out. This is not very much. This doesn't give me a lot of hope for Katana, even though I understand it's a really cool tool, but at the same time, it's like, hey, it should be able to come through and see that, hey, we have a form here. And it says upload, so this should be like a dead giveaway. This is Project Discovery's Katana. Here, I'll drop the link to it. Which should just be a headless browser for crawling. Let's see. Again, context deadline exceeded. Could not get DOM. Yeah, you're not inspiring a lot of context here. Yeah, it is written in Go, 100%. Unfortunately, I don't see where. I don't know enough about the code base that I don't really feel like digging into it to figure out where the context exceeded error is coming from. Because there's no anti-crawling measures happening on this thing. What if you increase the timeout to something ridiculous like 120? I mean, it's worth a try. Here's what's crazy though. Right, we go back over to where is it? Here we go. We come back over here, right? If I do an empty cache and hard reload, it loads in 2 seconds. This timeout should have no issue here. I think the problem might be having to do with this JavaScript here. Look at that. We go to sources here. Hold on, elements. Copy link address. There we go. I mean, so there is something here. I'm willing to bet that's probably the issue, is this right here. This guy. I think the problem is it's trying to parse the JavaScript and it can't. Because I think it's literally taking this path right here and trying to hit it. So like if I come over here, if I just drop that directly in, right? So this would actually be panel / and then there's a ... and then this guy right here. That comes back as a 404. I see what's happening. So what it's trying to do is it's trying to load this JavaScript with this really funky line right here, right? The browser, for some reason, kind of figures it out, if I'm understanding correctly. Let's see what it's doing here. So we have it a type right, which is Elemento. We do text to array inner split here. So one thing we could actually do to figure this out is if we come over here, we come to the console, we can see if we have document dot. See, we don't have a typewrite function. That comes back as undefined. It's not actually loading it. It doesn't need it, but I think it's trying to hit it and it's messing it up. Flashbang. Sorry, man. Typewrite's undefined. Yeah, so nothing in the document, nothing in the window. It's so weird. But yeah, I'm willing to bet you dollars to donuts that's what's happening in here. And in fact, one thing we could probably do... crap. I don't remember what the password was. Let's see. Mythic, admin, password. Flashbang. I don't remember if I changed the password or not. Dang it, I did. Stand by. Mythic. Let me go into the Mythic install real quick and go get the admin password. Let's see. Admin, the .env file. This. Okay, didn't change the password. Yeah, that's fine. All right, I need to make a modification here. So our. No, that's not it. The Arachne translator. I'm trying to remember where to modify it. Is it here? Oh, here. Oh, no, it's here. It's a web shell. There we go. Let's do root me. And we'll have to change this from Hackett. And we'll go put in the actual IP address for the lines real fast. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to change the C2 profile. I'm going to upload a new payload, and then we'll generate a new payload. We'll get it to run real fast. Because I want to test something out here. We're going to do what I always do. We're going to hack around and we're going to find out. All right. Delete. Delete. All right. So let's make a new payload. And, yep. Linux. Arachne. Good. And then continue. This will be a web shell, and this will be. I think it was this one. Oh, that's not right. Look at that! Damn it! It didn't copy pasta correctly. Hang on. That's alright. Let me deuce out all these other ones. And then let me go grab the IP address again. Drop that in here. There we go. Now we're talking. And wait. There we go. Now we can go make the payload. So that C2 profile just tells it, hey, this is the parameters that you use to talk to this payload once we drop it on the system. So 1010, 161, 2, 3. Perfect. Next. Actually, yeah, we'll call this Arachne. Actually, that's fine. Let's call it that. So I'm gonna have to rename it anyway once it gets in there. So let's cd over to downloads, and we're going to move Arachne to .php5. And then now once we come over here to the web interface, we can just upload it. File. Upload that. It gets uploaded, and now we should be able to come over to our callbacks in Mythic. This one, let's hide that because it's no good. Now here for this one, we should just be able to check in. Except I screwed something up. Oh, because it's trying to find evil3.php5. Damn it. Alright, we can fix this. Evil3.php5. I forgot, it needs the full path over to that system. Easy enough though. What we do is we just rename the file. And see, even here, we're getting like a console error saying it can't find that JavaScript, and I'm pretty sure that is what is messing up Katana. Which is funny because this exercise over on TryHackMe came out way before Katana was even a thing. All right, now go try to check it. There we go. All right, so got that going, and then let me think. Host is running as rootme. I don't remember what commands we actually have. Yeah, what options do we have for shell? Command required. Actually, I think shell actually just runs like a single command. It's not like an interactive. Yeah. Can we do a TTY? I think so. Do a helper. See what commands we've actually got. Check in, download, shell, upload, help clear. I mean, what we could do is we could just go make a new like callback for a different payload and have it actually just upload and then run it through Python. I don't remember if I saved the Python script previously, so we could reroute this box. Let's do something. See it in here. Nope, didn't have it. Actually, you know what? Come to think of it, we don't even need that. So a common pitfall, occasionally I still do it too, is sometimes you don't need to root every system you get onto, especially during a live penetration test. If it's a CTF, yeah, that's expected to be part of it, but we don't need that, right? All we need is we need to be able to just modify this system, right? So we're in upload, so what we do is we'll just cd up one, kill me smalls, bar, HTML, bar trip dubs HTML. Yeah, you're good here. Bar. Okay. Well then. Actually, let's see. I wonder if, because I haven't had a lot of experience with Arachne. See if I could do something. Browsers, file browser. No command currently loaded that supports file browser list feature. Killing me, Smalls. I actually had it on my to-do list to try and do some updates to Arachne. Okay, so let's run that again. We'll go to panel, and it's probably index.php in there. Index.php. All right, so let's download that. Let's see. So I'm going to download the index.php here, and I'm going to try and modify it. Just because I'm curious to see, like, hey, if we download this, call this index.php. I'm gonna vim that real fast. Yeah, look at this right here. So this is where it's happening right here. So I'm going to take this out. Actually, he just got it in the wrong spot. We do need that in there. We just need it here. And then now what I'm going to do is we're going to try and do an upload. So the remote file path should be panel. Let's see. Yeah, panel/index.php. So we're going to overwrite that file with our local copy. We're just going to go plant it in there. Task. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can cat that real quick. I think we have a cat command. Nope. We don't. That's fine. But we'll be able to tell if it actually works by coming right here. And if we... Oh, wait, no, this is not the one. This is the one. Yeah, this one. So empty cache. By the way, if you didn't know this, when you got DevTools open over here, you right-click this refresh. You can do an empty cache and hard reload. Makes it super handy when you're doing some kinds of web testing. We go over to elements. See, this is fixed now. Look at that. It still says it can't find it. Oh, no, actually, it's saying, like, hey, we're trying to find it. It's just, it's got an error in it. But now, the important part is, we're going to go see if we can get Katana to actually run on this. All right, I'm going to drop the timeout back to the default of 10. I'm going to see what happens here. I like Chrome DevTools way better than like Mozilla Firefox DevTools. I know a lot of people like Firefox, especially for offensive testing. I can't stand it. I sometimes use them instead of Burp. I use them both. Like, I'll use them interchangeably when I'm doing some testing. This is so weird. Look at this. So it got an error when it was doing this. Again, context deadline exceeded. All right, so let's bump this up back to 30 seconds. We'll let it run and see if it can maybe chill out. This actually should get it. Look at this real fast. So it goes and it gets panel, right? This is the request. Here's the response that comes back. And when the response comes back, we actually get the body and we can see the form right here. So hopefully this would work. Oh, okay. So we're getting this DOM exceeded on this JS file and this panel file. I see. But the important thing is now can we actually get this sucker to run? Oh, you know what? I just realized though, we've made modifications, but we actually have not made the modifications. So we need to actually go through here. And what we need to do is vim, I think it's pages. Yeah, cybersecurity, offensive, information gathering, Katana. So we need to come vim this one real quick, because I think it only has one function in here. No, actually, we've got a couple. Proxy crawler, scope. Yeah, so we've got two in here, but that's fine. So what we can do is we need to change this. So we need to take this out. Show browser needs to go away. So after Chrome and headless, we want silent because we don't care about the fancy little timeout thing. And then I think what we want here is, see if this will work. Timeout 30. We're going to bump the timeout on this to let it give it a little bit extra time. Which really, I don't know if we need that. It probably will be helpful in some of these CTF challenges because they can be running on really skimpy boxes. All right, let's go try this one more time. Actually, I gotta check one more thing. Did I change, save the changes to the prompt? Yes, okay, perfect. Because if I didn't, it was just gonna basically give us the same issue all over again. So let's go make a new thread here. Okay, let's go run this. Let's see what happens. So waiting for this initializer to come through and create our tasking. All right, so our tasks. No, stop scrolling, damn it. Okay, cool. So the tools are... No, you're still pre-populating stuff, you bunk. Killing me, Smalls. It's still... So even though here... Stop scrolling. Look at this. Actually, we won't be able to see it here. But if I go open the trace up, we'll be able to see it. So look, when we go to initializer here, the call literally says the output, tool, and answer parameter should be blank and the pre-flight check should be set to false. And what does it come back with? Oh, here's some tools, man. Here's some stuff, man. Would you just stop? The answer should be blank. Let me look at something here. What does it say for task list in here? Description. I wish we could change these to like non-required. If I knew how to modify that, I totally would. But might be dealing. You must be dealing with my browsers with a pre-population. Hey, Chad, what's up, man? Dude, it's not even a browser, like, because it's making a direct API call. That's the weird part. Anyway, we'll let this run for a minute. It shouldn't take it too long. Let's see, what's our current task it's running? So it's on task 1, which is weird. Hold on, down here. Oh, it was already, okay, take it back. It's already running GoBuster. So. Then we're going to run the host update. My dad joke for the night. You've got better. You got better dad jokes. You're like a level 20 dad. You can totally do better than that. Oh, yeah. Good stuff. Not sponsored by Jocko yet. I'm working on it. Thankfully, I'm starting to slowly get back to exercising again. Of course, now that means probably another family member is going to die or something. Your youngest just graduated from high school? Dang, man. Dude, my oldest nephew, I couldn't believe this. My oldest nephew is closer to 30 than he is to 25 now. I'm like, dang. Now, granted, that brother's 15 years older than me, though. You're so old. We're all gonna die before the sound clips get added. I know, band. I know. But honestly, the only way it's gonna happen is if you keep heckling me about it. Exactly why I do it. Yeah, I know, man. All right, cool. So now it's running Katana. Let's see. I wish I could tell it to pause. So one of the downsides I've just realized, I have to ask them about this, is, hey man, can we pause inside of an agent? Recursion limit 25 reached. That means we probably failed. So, I bet it didn't like that timeout 30 that we had in there. Yeah, so it ran Katana. So when we ran Katana, what was the output we got here? Black provided but not defined. Attack timeout 30. That's weird. Unfortunate. But let's go kill this and then remodify this. I believe we can do it this way. Because we had to do this with some of the other YAML in here. Yeah. There you go. We'll restart the server. Eventually, I'll get these robo pages also pushed up to... I'll get them pushed up to GitHub as well, with a lot of the other instructions on how to get the program like pre-populated. I apologize that like the setup instructions aren't up on GitHub yet. Let's see. Now we should, in theory, I want to try this, be able to come back over here where the first Katana call happened. Alright, so here's the first Katana call right here. Weird that, notice that port 22 is not showing up in here. That's very odd. Hostname blank, that's fine, because we're not using DNS for this. Hang on one second, let me dig through this, because it can be a little bit verbose. Let's see. Okay, so the enum agent then says, hey, we're going to pick up task 4, sending task to validator for pre-flight check. Validator comes back, says it's unanswered, so we're going to pass it back to the enum agent. Okay, rerun from here. Let's see. Here we go. So it's making a call here. Now here's the problem though. Look at this. For some reason it is passing in the base URL and not the URL to the directory. So it's never going to find it this way. Let's echo 23. It's echo 23 band. Okay, that didn't look like it actually finished here. So if we come through the list of messages here, let's come down to the very end here. So runs GoBuster, that all goes fine. Runs Katana, it gets some stuff, but notice how it didn't go to panel or uploads. Let's see. Main page contains a minimal interface with root. Can you root me? JavaScript detected. Contains a typewriter effect function. So now it says task 4 validated. Based on the host data provided, there's a mention of an uploads directory, which could potentially contain an upload form. However, the data doesn't explicitly confirm this. So that's not validated, you piece of crap. You're not giving me hope for the AI. So, I like where it's going with this, right? It's trying to crawl it. Actually, you know, probably the problem, part of the problem here probably is our verbiage. Because these things can, it's like talking to a hyper-intelligent 4-year-old is the way I like to examine this. Not crawl. Let's see. Because we use the word crawl, so what happened? It immediately goes to the headless crawler in Katana. that's not really what we wanted. Yeah, if it could crawl it, that would be great. But no, what we want to do is examine the discovered directories, what URLs have upload forms, and then get the remote shell. All right. Let's try this again. Actually, cancel. Do this in a new thread. Crawl, walk, run. Got it. Hey, Bobby, what's up, man? Yeah, I like the idea of where it's going in here, but at the same time, there's probably some... Look at this. It's still pre-populating the tools when it comes back, even though it was explicitly told to leave them blank. See this? So when this comes back, the tool section... I probably should go rename this to verdict from answer. But anyway. Yeah, so it's still pre-populating them, even though we come up here. Now we have explicitly told it the output, tool, and answer parameters should be blank, and the pre-flight check should be false. So, I mean, there's a couple ways we could work around that. We could have it return a more simple solution of structured data. Because if we look at it, really, what do we need here? We need the task, and the agent. The task and the agent and the target IP, that's it. Once we have the task, agent, and target IP, we could just go then create a stub to create a stub task with that data pre-populated into it. That's all we need to do. So, by the way, everybody, I hope you're all having a fantastic Sunday. I had a pretty good one. I took like a 3-hour nap. Oh, good. Sock just messaged me and said both kids are absolutely passed out, which is fantastic. Let's see what else it's doing here. So it runs GoBuster. It's doing the output formatting. Okay, it's still running through here. We'll let that run for just a second. I think I do want to go and rework this a wee bit. Let me look at the states real quick. So for tasks, we have the task answer. I do want to redo this real quick. I renamed this to verdict. I wonder if it's going to update in the rest of the code. I'm going to find out. I have actually, part of that's just actually experimenting with, this is PyCharm. And I haven't used PyCharm extensively. So I'm curious to see if it actually is smart enough to realize all the places we referenced the verdict or the answer from that and update it. Let's see here. Output formatters. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to add one more into this. Like here we've got the task answer. I'm going to make a new class here. We're going to call this... task basic info. And this is going to be a Pydantic class, so we can do it with structured output. So we'll do base model. And the things we need back from this are, we want the task string. We'll copy this. Let's use this as a basic. This will be a task string, and this is the task to be executed. What else do we need for that? We need our, we don't need the status, we need the agent though. Let's see. And this, actually I gotta make this a field. Yeah, so this would be a pedantic field. We'll say this is the agent to handle the agent that will handle the task. Oh, I haven't got to import that. And then what's the other thing? We need the target IP too. So let's go get that. This will be a string. It's gonna be. I'll set this equal to again to a field. And what I'm gonna do is just use this. So I believe if we have just those three pieces of information, we can go basically generate our own here. Because the status is always going to be new once it gets generated. Pre-flight check, we should be good. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll have the initializer actually come through and change the output. So rather than having this be a task list, what do we call this output? We called it task basic info. Copy this real quick. Because what we're going to do then is we'll just make a list of it. Task basic info list. We'll have one field in here which is going to be what are we going to call that? Oh, we'll just call it task list. And that is going to be list of task basic info. Make that a field too. So we're just putting the description in here. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to actually put the description value in here. So we're making it very explicit. So our description for this is going to be a list of the task base. Basic information. Okay. So now what we should be able to do is pass in this task basic info list, iterate over the task list. We'll create another helper function that says, hey, we're going to, this is how we take this basic info, generate a task, and then we'll basically just make our own task list for this. In the system prompt, I wonder if it would be more helpful to be more explicit about the instruction section in a bullet list, and then state the key value pair should always be blanked out. Shame it isn't more consistent, but such is the nature of the language models. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've been trying to tell a lot of people who are seasoned developers, and they're trying to start exploring language models, is that you're now inherently used to dealing with deterministic code that is going to be somewhat non-deterministic because the language model is essentially a giant probability machine. Let's see. So for the initializer, what we're going to need to do is all this will work, but what we're going to need is rather than task list, this is going to be task basic info list. Need to go import that. And we'll get this output back. Let me look this up real quick for the task list. And we called it task. Let's actually make this task right here. So it'll match more closely what we were doing. So then what we do is we iterate over the tasks right here. We can still do that, and then what we'll do is we'll modify it just a wee bit. So let's come over to There's that. Utils. Or to tasking. And here what we'll do is we're going to make a new function that's going to take in that. So we'll define expand. What do we call this? Task basic info. And what we'll take in here is we're going to take in our basic task, and the type for that is going to be task basic info. And now this is going to be a little bit odd. And then what we'll do is we're going to say this is going to return a task. Where is it? Mini task. Yeah, just a task right here from states. Alright, so we got to import that. Basic task, we'll return that. No, go away. I didn't want to see that. There we go. Okay, fine. It's complaining about how I've named this function. I know it's not used. I'm working on it. All right, so what we'll do here is we're going to take in is that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take in a single basic task here. We're going to expand that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this real simple. What we're going to do is we're going to return a task. And what do we need here? So we need the task, which is going to be a basic task. Then in basic task, we had that too, right? Yep. Task agent target IP. So it should hopefully be the same. We're doing dot task. Yeah, this. So what's the difference here? You notice how sometimes we're using bracket notation, sometimes we're using dot notation. Basic task over here in output formatters is a pydantic. It's a superclass of the pydantic base model. So it's using dot notation whenever you do this. States over here, though, is an expansion of type dictionary. So it's using bracket notation. So it gets a little bit funky whenever you have to go back and forth. But it's not that bad. So what we'll do then is we'll say the... okay, I need a come right there. So then status is going to be equal to new. And then our... oh, wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Here it is. Pre-flight check. Let's do that one next. Pre-flight check is going to be equal to false. We'll do status. I'm going to do these in the... capital F? Yeah, there we go. Alright, so after status, we had agent. So agent should be equal to basic task dot agent. Tool is going to be equal to a blank list. Output is also going to be equal to a blank list. Target IP, that is going to be, again, from our basic task here that we're going to put in. Yeah, so we're just going to basically reformat this, expand out to have all the various fields that we need, and then same thing with the product. think if I should add something. Yeah, I think I want to do that. So we'll say the verdict is no. There's been no verdict rendered on. No, there's no typo in there. I'll just change this. No, I don't like that. Let's change it to input. All right, so now we got our input here. Oh God, what don't you like? X, there, get bent. Okay, cool. So this will now come through in our return that task. So we'll come back over to Stinger, and here in the initializer, I don't want to do this. What we're going to do is we're going to do unordered list. I think there's a simple way to do this. It's going to be equal to, what was it in task get called? What do we call this? Expand task basic info. You know what? I think we're just going to do it right here for simplicity's sake. Yeah, we could get fancy with it, but I think what I want to do is core task and what do we call this? Task basic info list. What I want to do is unordered task list. We're going to append onto that, and we're going to append. What's the name of it? That's not it. Yeah, expand. And then we're going to pass in that task to it. Oh, it's complaining because we haven't imported that yet. There we go. Oh, I think there was a trick for this where we needed to, if we were going to iterate over a Pydantic class, there was something we needed to do with that. Let's see, task basic info list was a list of task basic info. I don't remember how to do this. Python iterate over list of Pydantic. See this guy have it. So do we need to do a model validation on this to get that list back? Let's see here. So according to the little pre-generated AI output, we have a base model of item list. Item list has a model validation object, and then we pass in whatever the data is to it, which in this case would be the response. Not sure if I really need. I think it's gonna probably shit itself when I try this. Oh, man. Hang on, we're already up to 14. Just turned that on like a week ago. I kind of just want to try it. Let's see what happens. Because if it fails, it's going to fail real fast because it's at the beginning of... It's at the beginning of the code base. Yeah, I got a type error on here. So one thing that's also cool is you can catch these errors over here. You can expand them out. We didn't even get the error I thought we were going to get. We got another freaking overload error. You're killing me, Anthropic. You're killing me, Smalls. Okay, there you go. That's what I was expecting. Task basic info list object is not subscripted. There you go. So it's going to return that task basic info list. Actually, let's look at something real quick. Because if we come look at the trace of it, we'll be able to see the output, right? So it returns like the very basics of it here. It's totally fine. Oh, it probably should be .task, shouldn't it? Wait, what am I doing here? I'm an idiot. Yeah, what am I doing? I'm trying to iterate over, like, the class name instead of the freaking... That's alright. Smooth brain happens occasionally. So the problem here was, I had the... When I was trying to iterate over this, I wasn't iterating over the response and then the task option in here, right? But I was iterating over the freaking class itself. Like, the class model. Oh, sweet. Alright, that's fine. Actually, that brings up a good point, though, because one thing we might want to start doing is perhaps doing some of these validations. So item list is a model validate for this, and then it was iterating over the item list items. Interesting. I have to think about that if I want to go mess with it. I just realized something. I did that, and then this is actually coming through with the responses right here, right? It should be like this. It should be right here, and then that unordered list is actually what we're going to then iterate over to make the ordered list. I'm going to go sort these. All right, let's try this one more time. Run it. Get an error. Where did we hit this? Oh, I think I had it right the first time. I think it should have been .tas in there. I questioned myself. Let's try this again. Let's see what happens. You're killing me, Smalls. All right, this overload issue is driving me bananas. Let's do something. So the issue is happening whenever we do the invoke function here. What's the error we're getting back? The error we're getting back is an API status error right here. Let's see if anybody else has addressed this. LangChain API status error. Overload. Some folks had actually been dealing with this. Let me see what their solution is. If you want, you can specify a fallback. I didn't like the fallback solution, but let me check this out again. So runnables can fall back to other runnables if it fails, like external APIs. The problem is, it can't fall back to anything other than Anthropic. Let's see, so they define a chat model here. With fallbacks is we use some other model, which is we use, okay, so they're saying, hey, let's fall back from Anthropic to OpenAI. That's not how I want this to work. Is this the whole woulda, coulda, shoulda added error handling that we just decided to do later on? Well, later on has finally arrived, man. Later on is now, sir. Piece of crap. All right, let me see here. So the error that it's raising, API status error. Okay. Let me see if I can find this. I gotta figure out how to actually handle this, because I haven't done a ton of error handling in Python before. So what we'll do is... Shit, I gotta remember how to do this. And dang it. Let's see. Python error. Yeah, but I want to try it with the actual exception that I want to get. So in this case, I guess this could be API status error. Try to divide by 0. Good luck with that one. Alright, so try to do this. No, we'll do this one. Yeah. Oh, it's good. I guess it would help if I spelled accept properly. Try accept exception name as E, yeah. Which in this case, the exception is API status error E. I'll have to go. from Anthropic and for API status error. What if there's a way to tell it to try again? Let me think about this. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to try this. If you have an API status error, basically what I wanted to do is back off for 5 seconds. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, because what I'm thinking is we could do it in the try, we could do it in the accept, and then finally down here. Those are some packages for API retry stuff. Yeah, for a Python request, there's one in there. Using a try except block, this allows you to catch the API status error and implement retry attempts with a delay. Actually, good, perfect. This is what I was hoping for. Where was this actually sourced from? I think there's a Python package called retry for retrying a method or a function. Yeah, in fact, in here, they're just doing the retry. In this case, they're doing a retry decorator. Let's see, Ben, what you got here? Oh, actually, it looks like that's exactly what the little AI overview was suggesting here. Using retry for a retry decorator in here. Define make treble. Tries 3, delay 2. I like that idea. Oh crap, I gotta go run and do something real fast. I'll be right back, guys. Alrighty, I'm back. I'm back. I'm better than AI, it's a proven fact. I will agree with that, sir. I will agree with that. Alright. We gotta go at this. Retry. Grab that. I like this. I like this idea. Where did I have this? Treat as retry. Version 092. Let's see, what version did we have listed? 092. Play advanced. Okay. So now we should have a retry decorator. Back all this out. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Alright, so for this retry decorator, we tell it what the exception is. Tell it how many tries and what the delay is. Nice. Oh wait, we gotta... Ooh, I just realized something though. This is adding the decorator to the function though, not to the invocation of the function. Let's see, where is this coming in at? So we do make trouble. This. So import request, retry API, retry call. Result equals retry call, make trouble. Okay, actually, we might be able to use this instead of the decorator. Because the decorator is meant for, hey, you're decorating your function with this. I was just thinking about that. It's like either we make like a wrapper function for it, or we just try the retry call here. So the retry call, yeah, or you split it up. Hang on one sec, guys. Be right back. Back again. Sorry, when Mama calls, you got to answer the phone. And she usually doesn't call this late either. I like splitting the splitting out idea a bit better. It's more reusable. Maybe. The idea though with using the retry call though. Actually, yeah, retry call doesn't look like it's as usable. Looking at this. Crap. Let me think about this then. Retry delay extra batter ram log. I'm trying to think how to do this in this code, because the problem is, right, we've got a couple different variations happening here. Configuration. So our default LM is a chat anthropic, which is also basically just an extension on the base chat model. So the problem is this isn't a function though, this is a class. It's a function inside the class that we would have to use to do that. Yeah, I just didn't want to retry the entire thing. Like on the invoke function in here. Let's see. Because the base chat model is actually where this is going to come in at. So it's going to have the invoke function in here. Serialize output invoke. So we'd actually need to come in and what's the override decorator do? Method is intended to override a method in a base class. Hey Trey, what's up, man? I'm a first year CS major and I study hours every day, and I'm surprised I haven't gone insane. I'm noticing progress that I'm proud of, but it just takes me so long to learn, and my brain hurts so much that it feels like I can't continue. I'm also on summer break, but still learning. Do you have any suggestions on what I should do? So it depends on a couple different factors there, Trey. But part of it might just be you are overloaded, man. Your brain is a lot like just any other muscle in your body, right? A lot of people, they talk about when they're exercising, they worry about overtraining. But very few non-elite athletes ever get to the point of overtraining. What they get to the point is under recuperating. They're not taking enough time to take care of themselves, get themselves back into a good state where they can go exercise. So that might be the situation where you're facing right now, and that you need to take a little bit of time off to let your brain relax. And maybe one thing that I like to do is take that time off, but also maybe take some of the stuff that you're learning and apply it to a fun project that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Think about when you used to maybe build sandcastles as a kid, or just build random Lego castles even. Something that was fun, and using building blocks that were presented to you from a completely different kit and just making something unique and seeing how the pieces fit together. That might be one way to do it. But I'd say the main thing that you want to probably do is probably take a little bit of time off. Like, give yourself, if you're on break for summer, give yourself 11 days. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of research that show that 11 days is like the optimal vacation time. So give yourself like 11 straight days where you're just not really worried about studying or trying to cram in more information. And then start reapproaching it and coming back into it. And also, like I said, make sure you're taking care of yourself. You're getting sunlight, you're getting good food, you're getting plenty of sleep. Those are the three biggies there. Also, make sure you're drinking water. If you're like getting to a point where you feel like your brain's not functioning, drink some water. A lot of times that's what's happening, is your body's a little dehydrated. See the big ass cup I've got? This is to make sure I try and stay hydrated throughout the day. Hey, no problem, Trey, man. Yeah. Like, I think a lot of people, they just burn themselves out. Hey, Ken, what's up, man? I went insane a long time ago. What's your advice for me? There's no hope for you, Ken. It's happened. Don't suffer from insanity, just enjoy it. Taking good notes helps too. You know what's funny, Band, is when I took a lot of notes, I didn't have to refer to them very much. It was this very interesting kind of like catch 22. I would take really good, copious notes, and occasionally I'd have like students. I almost said coworkers. I'd have other students come ask me for copies of my notes because they were so clear if they missed class. But I would take the notes, and very rarely would I have to go revisit them. I used to never take notes, but now I'm old. Yeah, right. I think how I might want to do this. If I want to try and incorporate this retry decorator into here. Hold on, actually, I was looking at what this override here does. Indicates that a method is intended to override a method in a base class.
Caution. A virus has been detected.
Gripping virus detected in the
The
network.
Gripping virus. What's up, dude? Hey, man, I hopped into your gaming channel last night, and I was like, I thought he was going to be playing something, man. What's going on, dude? Got type cookie. Cookie monster. Yeah, for everybody coming on Griffin's Red, I was solely disappointed he didn't hop on to play a video game last night. Oh, okay. Maybe I was just too impatient. I was like, oh, man, where's the game? No, go get your food, dude. I understand. Go do your thing, brother. So, what's up, everybody? Oh, went till 4 a.m.? Yeah, I was not up that late. That's awesome. After I hopped off stream, I played a little Darktide for a bit. You know, Purge the Heretics is soothing to the soul. Yes. Yes, Ricky, do not hack the venue, which means don't hack Twitch and YouTube, because that's where I do my stuff. I need them to work. So that rule actually originated from one of the local... I live in Dallas, and one of our local meetups is called the Dallas Hackers Association. It was modeled off of the Austin Hackers Association, where it started up, except we're a little bit less pretentious and a little bit more cool. So when that happened, though, we had a situation come up where somebody, basically we were meeting in a bar, and the bar did not have good Wi-Fi security. And so somebody hopped in there and thought they would be all smart and awesome elite hacks. No! I am a mega nerd, yes. And basically started doing something called an ARP poisoning attack. So if you're not familiar with what an ARP poisoning attack is, it works a bit like this. So whenever you've got two computers that want to talk to one another, let's say we've got our victim, we've got our attacker, and then let's say we've got a router over here. Whenever this computer needs to talk over to the router, the first thing it does is it sends an ARP packet, ARP, that's an address resolution protocol, to find out what the MAC address of the router is. And then it knows how to handle sending messages to it so it can go out to, say, the internet. So what this guy down here does is he broadcasts a bunch of fake ARP packets that says, I'm the router. So now all of a sudden, this poor fool here is sending data to the attacker and forwarding it to the router. Kind of cool. Actually adds a shit ton of latency and makes the network just go bananas. So one of the problems, though, is if you're doing this, and he was doing it in Kali Linux, I know because I've done this and I run into the same problem. If you don't turn on packet forwarding in the kernel, it just drops the packets. So all of a sudden, everybody on the restaurant Wi-Fi just completely lost internet connectivity. And what they were trying to do is they were trying to do a man in the middle to the card payment environment, to basically the credit card processor. So DHA got kicked out of that restaurant shortly after that. And so I knew exactly what was going on as soon as one of the guys who has helped run the event is like going around to all the laptops and like yanking the batteries out and shutting the lids. I was like, oh god, I know exactly what just happened. It's like, everybody get off the Wi-Fi. I'm like, yeah, I called it hard. So that rule originated because of that event. I think this was probably, how long ago was that? This must have been like 10 years ago, I think. Maybe 10 years ago. The AJ's been going on for a long time. Nice to find someone that sort of thinks like me, dude. There's lots of folks out there like that. You just gotta find some folks you can mesh and chill with, dude. Probably reporting to the FBI. I don't know if they ever found out, Elf, who actually did it. We just knew somebody on the network was doing it. Oh, by the way, let's see. Speedy and Mr. Mendoza, thanks for coming online. Appreciate y'all. The FBI would know. Yeah. Yeah. We play a mini game of Spot the Fed at DHA, kind of like at DEF CON. But yeah, the whole reason I knew that this failed was because of this packet forwarding thing. If you have never done this and you haven't tested it and become firmly familiar with your toolkit, like I recommend everybody do, whether you're in offense or defense, and you didn't know about this setting, you just denial of service the entire network. That's all you do. People who do this stuff on live networks need to get charged. I agree with you. That's why I do it with get out of jail free cards from the clients. And I do it by getting paid in advance. We played a different spot at DEF CON. It's funny. No, I completely agree with you, Elf. That's why I do it in my home environment and I do it in customer environments where they have invited me in. I'm kind of like a vampire, right? They've got to invite me into the environment for me to have power over them. And I always get the constant joke of people coming through. It's like, well, don't hack my email if they find out like what I really do. And I'm like, dude, you can't afford my hourly rate. Oh, by the way, for everybody who just came in, my name is Blaise. We were going off some fun stories. I've been in offensive security for the last 7 years, and I've been in IT for 15 years, but I've been messing with computers since the 2nd grade, and essentially doing like what I call computer hood rat stuff. My other email is your email. My favorite band, though, was a buddy of mine used to have a shirt that said, "My other computer is your computer." That was the one I really liked. So what we've been working on in here is working on using an AI agent framework called LangGraph to build out an agent system, basically like a family of agents that should go through and play hacking CTFs for us. So it's got some very basics down, but we're finding areas where it's not quite so robust. One of them being is that we're using Anthropic for the chat model, and the API keeps getting overloaded, and it just hard fails. So we're about to try and implement some retry mechanics in here. I fully admit I actually suck as a developer. Griffing is like a level 12 black belt, and I'm like a level 3 yellow belt. You know, it's like nothing. There's no comparison. When you work in offensive security, you get really good at reading and modifying code, but not at writing code. So this project is partially also to help me become a better code writer. I had to figure out where, if my clients start implementing this kind of stuff, where they might screw up, and I can take advantage of it. My other ATM is the one you just used. Dude, there was actually, my first DEF CON I went to in 2010, there was a bit of a fiasco with a fake ATM that appeared in one of the casinos. It was a bit of a business. Yeah, exactly. I want to say that was the one that I remember that was at 2010. Interesting to think about, honestly, being good at reading code as opposed to writing it. Yeah, I think of it as kind of like you might be fluent in like understanding a language if somebody's speaking to you, but then you try to speak and you're just fumbling over your words and things like that. It's that kind of scenario is what I think about it. My sense of time is off. It was like 15 years ago. No, it was in 2010. That was 15 years ago. Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, yeah, it would have been because that was about the time I actually started working in IT, and never could afford to go to DEF CON before that. Dangerous manner here, dude. Ricky, I'm actually just a giant marshmallow, man. I studied martial arts for a long time. I've studied computer hacking for a long time, and honestly, I just try to be a really chill person and take care of folks. You understand your code is probably decent enough for most senior level Python developer roles. I'm gonna press X to doubt on that band because, dude, it feels like my code is just spaghetti wrapped inside of alphabet soup with a big old helping of like just mini meatballs that say you suck. Is it possible to become an entry senior level Python dev if you study enough during college? Probably not, Trey. And the reason for that is because there's a big leap whenever you're going from theory to practice. And that big leap typically comes in with just seeing weird stuff that you cannot find in academic environments. The best example I can give on the offensive security side is whenever you're doing a capture the flag, right? They have a goal. There's some kind of exploit that's going to land you a code execution on the system. That's called getting your user shell. And then you're going to try and abuse some built-in functionality or something in the system to escalate your privileges to get root access. So that's called rooting the box. And typically, though, those CTFs only apply one system. It's one computer. So you can get pretty good at understanding that. It's a bit like Sudoku, or crossword puzzles, but for hackers. That's what a CTF is. But whenever you try and jump to something like a penetration test, which the smallest one I've ever seen there was 30 machines. That was the absolute smallest one. So you can get that analysis paralysis, and there's no real good way in this example to jump from that 1Z, 2Z, maybe 3 machines up to like 30, 40, 50, 200, 10,000, which is not uncommon for some of the environments that I work in. So there are things that you will experience working in live production environments, let's call it, that you just can't experience because of the sheer scale whenever you're first entering an environment. Now, if you're very good and you're very talented and you pick up quickly and you work hard, that being the key is if you're working hard on it, then yeah, you could probably elevate through those ranks pretty quickly. The code's like angel hair. Dang it, Ken. Yeah. Hey, no worries, man. Yeah, like I said, this is when I say AMA in the chat, the stream title, I mean it, man. The one pen test that still blows my mind was under 100 machines, but no Active Directory. Everything else is a medium and large environments. Yeah. War Ice Dev. What's up, man? Thanks for coming online. So, yeah, Chad, I had one like that, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Turns out the shop I was testing was 100% Azure AD, and I had no starting credentials. So I was essentially dead in the water for that assessment. This was at my old job, and we typically underscoped the time that was needed to really effectively complete the assessment. So anytime I got one that I felt was like actually time appropriately scoped, it was just like a breath of fresh air. Let's see here. All right, so going back to this, I do want to use this. Let me look at something over here for the Anthropic side. This is chat models. Hold on, where's Anthropic? Format message. Ah, here we go. So here's our chat Anthropic, and what are we extending onto this? We got a lot of stuff we're extending onto it. That is one heck of a long doc string. The doc string is like 10 pages. When you call, you're making the call to invoke. It can be anywhere in the code, but like for example here, the basic workflow is we'll come through and we'll get the prompt template. Which this probably doesn't need to be a function, but you know what? I just thought it was fun to do that. So that's the way I did it, and for consistency, that's the way I kept doing it. But anyway, this little function here, we come over to prompts over here. All it does is it takes in a system template and a user template, and it just returns a properly formatted chat prompt template in here. Boom. That's all it does, is it just spits it back out. So when we call this function, we get the prompt template. And then when we invoke the template here, we pass in just these key value pairs, and it plugs in the various pieces of information. And then now we actually have the actual prompt. That prompt then gets passed over to the language model. So the language model actually gets initialized over in the config file. That's fine, makes it really easy to just pass the language model object around. But we modify it a bit. So the LLM object here is that chat Anthropic instance. And that comes through with structured output. So then we basically create a new version of it, gives us a new runnable from LangGraph, and then we invoke it right here. So this is the part where we actually need that to kind of rework, because we do take the LLM, but the LLM object changes depending on how we're doing it. So like we might bind tools to this and get a different runnable back out. That's the kicker here. It's like we're not using the same runnable each time. We're binding different output parameters to it whenever we do this. These guys were a local work group. I found the first empty machine and dumped. It's effectively done in like 20 minutes. I don't know what SS and S is. The whore was explaining the issue over the rest of the week. Oh, God. It probably is the same invoke. I mean, one thing we could do is let's go look at this with structured output option here. So if we come over to chat Anthropic here, we should have a method defined in here for with structured output, or that actually may just be over in chat models. I'm not sure. I would just control F this, but the problem is the interface captures it before the web page does. Actually, let me see if I can think of something. Oh, you just taking me to the LLM, jerk. Let me try something here. So we're around line 1100. Oh, here we go. So here's our with structured output. Oh, cool. We're still in chat Anthropic. Okay, awesome. So yeah, see, this returns us a new runnable whenever we do this. Basically, you want a wrapper that takes an object with the invoke method and retry decorate the wrapper. Okay. Something I haven't done before, but like I said, it's all about. Let's see here. So actually, this runnable language model input, where does that invoke method actually come from? Actually, we might be able to just see it from here. Let's see. Oh, so the invoke method actually comes from the runnable itself. It's over here. Okay, so this is in the LangChain core. That's where the runnable comes from, right here. So the invoke method is probably in here. Oh, SAM system and security. Gotcha. That's what the triple S is. You think this makes it simpler since the runnable, the very, very base, has the invoke? Let's see. I wish I could just hit Control F. This would be nice. Invoke. The problem is also there's two different invokes in here. There's an invoke and there's an asynchronous invoke by default. So a lot of times when you set this up, it'll automatically handle the asynchronicity. There we go. Abstract method? What does that mean? Decorator indicating abstract method requires that the meta class is ABC meta or derived from it. Class that has a meta class derived from ABC meta cannot be instantiated unless all of its abstract methods are overridden. Well, let's go. Let me try something real quick here. Let me close this stuff out. Let's go over to the config real fast. I'm gonna just try something here real fast. Now, where's this invoke that we're coming from? So this is coming from the base chat model. Now, one of the kickers here is, so this configuration pie, it gets imported, and then we've got some basic information about the model, the temperature, the LLM. Really, we're just using the LLM from this. Like, we come up here and we see, big. Yeah, so here's our configuration. So we import that configuration, and we just break out the LLM right here. This was eventually so we could have some different modifications happen. This was basically just trying to future-proof the code a tiny bit. You pass any kind of object that is a child of the base class and call invoke, and just check if it's the type of the base class. That just went so far over my... Hey, Chris, what's up, man? Dude, love me some Marines. So, Chris, I got a funny story to tell you. And for my other... Marine Corps buddies in here. I was, by the way, just for completeness sake, I did not serve in the Marine Corps. I'm just a fangirl of the Marines. Anyway, I had like serious delays when I was taking my flight to Chicago the other week, and was a little bit pissed off. And so I'm waiting. I'm like 2 or 3 hours later arriving to Chicago than I should have been. And so I pull up my phone. I get a ride share, and the guy pulls up. And he's got the big Eagle Globe and anchor on the back of his car. I'm like, yeah, God sent me a Marine escort. Awesome. That made the day a little bit better. No, I did not serve in the Marines. I just really like him, and I respect the heck out of them because they do so much given like just the dregs of the Navy, right? Do more with less. Should be like, it should be like Semper Fi, semicolon, do more with less. That should be like the Marine Corps motto. Okay, so Ben is saying, so the abstract method means it's a base class, and the child classes have to implement invoke. Okay, so it's basically a placeholder, and the other classes need to set their own invoke up. So you can check is instance of the object to pass the wrapper to ensure it's the proper type. I gotcha, okay. Ken was in the Navy and he used to say that Marines was just the sound shit makes when it hits the fan. Yeah, you know what's funny is I don't know why. It's like one of my good, several of my good buddies are Marines. One of my best friends, dad and sister were both in the Marines. All the people that like I just gravitate to hang out with at work, all former Marines.
Caution.
It's just, I don't know why.
Virus has been detected.
S1Y_B0RG virus detected in the network.
Hey, Slyborg, what's up? Welcome in, Raiders, by the way. Let's see. So one of your labs, can I come... one of your labs, can I come in to discuss the RTO1 preparatory roadmap with you? I'd imagine I'm the only one who's enthusiastic about this. Could you open up other Uh, oh, and it could open up other credential prereq inquiries like the OSCP. Is it a central pre-RTO1 course content purchase? Gotcha. Okay. Bringing some gamers to the chat. That's fine, man. Welcome in. What were you playing? Got type cookie. I need to make that a standard response whenever somebody raids in. Type cookie. Forgot we got the Cookie Monster. How could you forget the Cookie Monster? I'm not partial or anything, but I say that's probably one of the best emotes in all of Twitch. Maybe second only to the Dumpy emote on Pirate Software, because that is just hilarious. Does anybody have? Well, let me see. I don't have it anymore. Okay, Primogen's Yap one is pretty good there. Let me see here. Actually, I just noticed there's a modification I wanted to make to this. For some reason, I have this in here twice and I'm not even utilizing this variable, which eventually should be set from an environment string. Go ahead and set that real quick. I'm trying to think how to do this. When we use chat Anthropic, it automatically configures it for using Anthropic here. I feel compelled to help design the merch store. It would be fun if I ever thought about it. I was like, if I ever took the time to actually sit down and do it. Heck, I can't even go get the new sounds that Band has been asking for. Arch, by the way. Yeah, you don't have to. Arch is like being vegan. You don't have to tell any. You don't have to ask anybody because they're going to tell you. What's funny is one of my coworkers, we were talking, she is a vegetarian and I'm a carnivore. And so we were discussing and I was asking well, where do you, I forget what I asked, hey, where do you get any fats in your diet from? And she's like, oh, I get cheese or something. It's I'm not a vegan. Those people are weird. I just thought that was really funny. Oh, it's funny that even the vegetarians don't get down with the vegans. I'm trying to think how to... All right, let me see if I can kind of get this going here, and then Band can tell me when I'm being a smooth brain. So what I'm thinking here is, what I want to do is define a class, and what we're going to call this, and even though I think this is ugly and this is the worst place possible to put this, I just want to test this out real quick. So we're going to define a class. We're going to call it chat Anthropic with retry. We're going to try this. And what this is going to take in is it's going to take in... Well, we want a class here specifically? I wouldn't. This is a horrible, crappy place to put this. But I'm going to put this class in here to test it. And then if it works, I'll find a more appropriate place to go put it. Okay, so if I want to make a class of this, so this would be basically a super class of chat Anthropic. And yeah, no, this is Dirty Hacks testing code right here is what this is, Chris. Smooth brain. Dude, I had the smoothest of brain. We're talking down to the Planck link right there. Let me see here. So what I want to do is essentially go overwrite the invoke. Let me go check something. starting on line 413. Let me find invoke. The doc string is so massive. You just need to add a method and pass the object you call invoke to it. I guess so, don't we? So what we would probably do here is so we take in a chat anthropic, we pass it into here. What I wanted to do was overwrite the invoke function though. So will we just define an invoke here? Signature method of chat and talking to the retry does not match signature of the base method chat model anthropic. You duplicate it for? Oh, because it's got to be copied from runnable.invoke. That's what it is. Oh, there's no invoke defined here because it's going to be coming from the yeah. I see what's happening. Right. Yeah. Manny, thanks for coming online. Welcome in. Let me see something here. So this invoke actually should filter all the way down into copied from runnable invoke. Okay, so we need to duplicate that, so we need to basically copy this. So we duplicate the definition here. Where did input get brought in from? Let's see. Where's input? That's from LangChain core runnable utils. So let's start doing some importing here. We gotta bring in a little bit of optional. Runnable config, that should come from LangChain core also. And the output, kwrx ini. That come from typing. Let's see. Typing. Let's go ahead and import that. And then output should probably come from LangChain core as well. Yep, there we go. DMG some example code, or how simple this would be if you're making, how simple this should be and you're making it so overcomplicated. That is the name of the game for me, man. I tell people when they're starting to do like pen tests and stuff, what I do is I tell them to think dumber, try simpler stuff. But sometimes you have to know, like, you have to be really well skilled in your craft to be able to actually think dumber. And as you're trying to understand things, yeah, you tend to overcomplicate it. Agent Zero does that all the time. And it's fine. It's part of he's 6. It's part of his learning process. Hold on, so what we're gonna say here is, so you're saying we could throw a retry decorator on this. And what we're gonna do is, we're gonna say the, yeah, exception should be like that API error crap. What was it? What was the error that we got? API status error. That's it. So that is API status error. Well, then we'll say our retries. Is that it? Retries? What was this? Oh, we do tries and retries. So tries 3, delay 2. Now we're going to change that. We'll drop this in. So we do want to do 3 tries. We're going to back it off by 10 here. So we'll wait 10 seconds. We'll wait for it to come back. Wait, didn't I go ahead and add that to it? Hold on. I added this to the project, didn't I? Okay. Oh, I guess it would help if I imported it, right? There we go. Let's see. Why is it still throwing a bit about the structure of this? Probably because we didn't import that. Let's see. Class attribute, API status. X. What is it throwing a fit about? So what you're doing right now is you're basically making your own child class with a chat anthropic class, which isn't what you want. Oh, okay. That was the way I was thinking it needed to be. Hang on, let me back this out real quick. This is what I was talking about. Look at getting help on the go, man. You just want to call the invoke method on a child class of the anthropic class. Hold on, we're gonna do this again. So what you're doing right now is basically making your own child class of the chat anthropic class. This isn't what you want. You just want to call the invoke method on a child class of the anthropic class, and to be able to retry calling it when the exception occurs. Oh, I see what you're doing now. Okay. So you're defining an invoke function. We're going to pass in chat anthropic. I see. Yeah, okay. You is so smart. SMRT. Band is so smart. SMRT. Alright, so let's try this. Retry. Let's see. Exceptions equals API. If I can type API status error. Open it. Nope, that was not what I wanted. I wanted the one from Anthropic. Anthropic API status error. It'd probably be the same though. And then let's do it's tries. Tries will be 3, and then I think it's delay. Delay will be 10. So we'll have it wait 10 seconds before it tries again. All right, so then what we'll do is we'll define underscore invoke, Ratchmer. And then for the invoke, we're taking LLM, and that should be a chat and Anthropic. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Is basically we'll do LLM here, and once we get it running, now actually this is a little bit different because it shouldn't necessarily be a chat anthropic. This should be a runnable, because if we come over here, whenever we come over to the initializer, right, and we do it with a structured output here, this type is going to return a runnable. So our with structured output here, this type here, would be like a, let me see if I can find it real quick. There we go. A model wrapper that returns output formatted to match the given schema. And so it returns a runnable type right here. No, runnable is a type of the base model. Right, if we come look at this, this is from runnable's base. So runnable is the base object, and everything kind of inherits it up from like to chat OpenAI, chat Anthropic, stuff like that. Yeah. So instead, this would be, where is it? This would be a runnable. This chain core runnables runnable. I think that's where I want that. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. And then this should return. This should return another runnable. No, this would not return a runnable. This would return the output from the invoke, which the output from the invoke here should return an output type. Okay. So that would be an output for LangChain. Yeah, now we're talking. Now we're cooking with propane. Oh, I don't know why I put that there. There we go. Let's see. Okay. So we'll do a quick check. We'll do if is instance. Have it. Is instance. There we go. And then for this, we need the object, which would be LLM. And what it needs to be the type of, which would be like runnable. Remember that Family Guy episode where Peter laughed in the mirror and he's like, propane. Let's see. So if it's a runnable, then what we're going to do is we're going to do lm.invoke, and then we're going to need to pass in the stuff we need for this. Because we have to pass in this this prompt that we essentially put into it here. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll pass in an LLM, and then we're going to pass in a prompt. What is the type of this? Let's see here. Which I think this just returns a runnable as well. Oh, no, it's a prompt value. That's actually what we want here. So this should be, we'll say the prompt. And this type should be a prompt value. There we go. Awesome. So what we'll do is we'll double check them. We'll say, is this an instance of a runnable? And is instance. We'll make sure that the prompt is an instance of the prompt value. Prompt value. There we go. And then what we'll do is we will do LLM invoke, and then we'll pass in prompt, just like that. Oh, there we go. And then we'll do a quick else statement. What we'll do is we will raise the API status error. API error. Is it the same type for all the calls to invoke? For this one, yes. So there's only two types that we're using, right? So we're using for this invoke, for like the structured output, it should always return a runnable, right? So this one returns a runnable. If we go over to, let's see, like the recon agent right here. Here in recon agent, when we make the LLM call, right? What we're doing is we're binding tools to it. Actually, we're not even binding tools to it. It's always basically this invoke should always return a runnable, right? Well, in this case, actually, this returns a prompt value. So we should always be sitting in a prompt value. This one, oh, we actually are doing LLM with tools, right? So our LLM with our tools comes up here. And what this does is this returns a base chat model, which is fine. What was the invoke here? Invoke here returns an output. Okay, so this actually could be either... No, it does take in a runnable. Yeah. Yeah, prompt value should always be the same because we're always, once we massage this into place, we get the prompt template. We complete the prompt template by passing in the data pieces to fill in the blanks. And then we have the actual prompt so we can pass it. Hey, Gilby, what's up, man? Thanks for coming online. Happy Sunday, everyone. Let's see here. This is so freaking dirty, though. Especially since I'm doing this in the configuration file. This is not where this should go. Let's see here. Yeah, invoke should return an output type. I'm sorry, actually, no, this one returns a prompt value. That's fine. This one here, this invoke, should take in an input and return an output. So that should be fine there. Monday for me, but happy to be here. Dude, I know, right? I live in the past. You know, I'm in the central United States. I'm down in Texas, so we're always a tiny bit in the past. Let me double check this. So we're gonna take in an LLM, which should be a type runnable, and let me verify this. So LLM with tools. Yeah, this should be a runnable. That's quick. So bind tools. Yeah, see, even bind tools returns a runnable. So we should be good there. As long as it is coming through as a runnable of some kind, we should be good. If the prompt is a prompt value, we should be good here. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll invoke it. We'll take the LLM, we'll pass the invoke with the prompt, and we'll do API status error. And what we'll say is, you know, if I'm going to make this, I'm going to finally do the error handling. I'm going to make it a little bit less sus. And that is, what we'll do is, we'll say output equals nothing right now. Equals a none, and then we'll do it. Say output is going to be this. Actually, you know what? We can do this a little bit differently. Never mind. Take all this out. Let's take this. I'm going to split this real quick. I'm going to say if it's an instance of a runnable, and then if it's an instance of the prompt value, then we'll do it like this. And then if it's not, so this would be the else for if it's not a runnable, then what we'll do is we'll return an API error. So we'll return, oh no, we'll raise. That's what we'll do. We're going to raise an API. I don't have like an API error type though. Australia for me. So what are we crafting here? Dude, this is a, we're doing a little bit of care and feeding of this AI hacking bot they've been working on to go through and play things like capture the flags for hacking challenges. Stuff like Try Hack Me or Hack the Box. Eventually Game of Active Directory we'll throw in here. And so this system should go through and basically use an AI agent to try to mimic working through solving some kind of hacking challenge. Right now, it's just working on a very basic example, the most basic of basics, like level 0. If you can't complete this, you know nothing about hacking. We're working on that. We're using that as the test case to try and build it out. One of the issues we keep running into, though, is we're using Anthropic, Claude 3.7, and we keep hitting an API error where this API is overloaded and it can't send us a response. So finally putting in some error checking here that says, hey, by the way, if the API is overloaded, what we'll do is we'll back off for 10 seconds and we'll try it again, and we'll do that 3 times. So that's what we're trying to get here. Ooh, API status error. Yeah, there we go. What do we have in this? Let's see. Message. Message equals... I don't... Actually, I'd rather this be like a type error. Yeah, I'd rather it be a type error. Yeah, but I don't know anything about Python type errors yet. Let's see. Python type. Built-in exceptions. All right, where's our type error? Just a message? That's all we need? Okay. Let's do a format string in this. Let's see. LM type expects type. Say LLM expected type. What do I want to say here? What does it need? It needs a runnable. Got, and then we'll put a little string here. And so the type is, we'll do type of LLM. There we go. I think that'll work. Minimal knowledge on scripting. Dude, come on in, man. Dude, I have a lot of knowledge on scripting and reading and modifying code. I've been in offensive security for the last 7 years, and I've worked in IT for 15 years. But developing code from scratch is something I'm not really good at. So this project is actually to help build that skill set, as well as refine a little bit of my thinking about the offensive security workflow. Because now it's like I'm training a hyper-intelligent 4-year-old. That's the way I always explain language models to folks. Is they're exceptionally literal, and they have access to vast sums of knowledge because of all the data they've been trained on. That knowledge can be flawed because it's trained from the internet, and 4chan probably found its way in there. And God knows Reddit's in there, so all sorts of weird stuff is going to be happening in it. And this is the kind of stuff that's going to be powering a lot of systems going forward. There's like the new AI gold rush, right? So if I encounter this in a client's environment when I'm doing a penetration test, I want to know how it's working. I want to know how to attack it. So that is one of the other main benefits to this project is understanding how these might be put into place so that I can then go in and try to break them better. Let's see here. So if it's an instance of... Yeah, do that. I gotta do... do one more else right here. Okay, we'll just change this. And then we'll say prompt. So prompt expected type prompt value got type of... And what we could do is actually, we could just throw ourselves a little return right here, and bam, we'll be good. There we go. I'm doing a cert for, in cybersecurity, doing basic pen tests, but yeah, I can read scripts, but writing them, I have no clue. And that was a lot of the situation I was in, like if I needed to go, if it was like a simple little like script to do something, not a problem. But writing an actual like fully featured program, with stuff like this, where we've been running into issues and we got to go throw a fix on it, that wasn't stuff I was very well skilled at. So this has been a learning experience for me in that respect. All right. All right, I love this, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it out of here and we're gonna go put it somewhere. Actually, stay there for just a hot second. We can figure out where to put this. We're gonna throw it over in utils. Where do I want to put this? Open router, open formats, prompts, states, wordless. I'm just gonna delete wordless. It's been useless so far, and it's completely blank. Let's make ourselves a new Python file here. We're gonna call this LLM helpers. And we're gonna drop this in here, and then we're gonna have to go re-import all this stuff. We want the Anthropic version of that. So it's runnable. Same thing for prompt value. And same thing for output. Yep, there we go. All right, cool. And then, oh, we got to import retry. Hey, Schemano, what's up, man? Thanks for coming online. Welcome in. I hope everybody's having a happy Sunday or Monday, depending on what time zone you're in, because it is almost Monday here as well. I'm honestly surprised that my wife hasn't aggroed on me, because the stream usually ended 15 minutes ago. But I run it late because I have to do it after the kids go to bed. Let's see here. So that should be good. So now what we need to do is anytime we're going to be invoking this. So let's do our first little test case here. Save this. Let me go clean up config here. Where's all of our changes? I want to revert all those changes. And then same thing up here. Revert all of this. So this file should be back to pristine. I am going to make one small change though. This should go right here. There we go. What is it all of a sudden flipping out about? Save that. We'll save this. And then now let's come back over to Stinger. And in the initializer, instead of doing the invoke here, what we'll do is we're going to pass in actually, you know what I want to do? I want to change the name of this a little bit. Instead of calling this underscore invoke, we're going to call this LLM retry or invoke retry. There we go. Save that, and then so this will actually get replaced here just a week. This get a little bit extra working room. Okay, so we'll do, and then for here, import that. So the first item we need here is we need the LLM, which would be right here, and then our task list prompt. And actually, this would now be, this should just be our response right here. Yeah, that should work, I think. Chemical burn, what's up, man? Now the question is, what kind of chemical? Let's go run this again. Let's see. Let's come over here and let's make ourselves a new thread, and we'll just try rerunning this. Is the system still online? There's 16 more minutes. We'll add another hour to it. The type that seems to fry other people's minds. Oh, acid. Got it. I approve. All right. Let's run this. We'll see if we even get past the initializer. We'll see what happens. In theory, the code is sound. In practice, it might just blow up on us. Hey, actually, it did something here. Hold on. I'm going to cancel this because I want to see exactly how all this worked. Because this was a multi-step change that we just made. And I want to go check and see how this is functioning. So, initializer, we told it to return us a task basic info list, which looks like it did, which gives us just these 3 data points. We pass that through the Pydantic tool parser. We've got that. We come over to Stinger. If we look at the input state, nice. Nice. So we have our agent. We got our recon. 2 things in recon. We got a couple things in enum. Excellent. Okay. Well, now I wish I hadn't canceled it because it was running really good. So do it again. Although, really, if it was an acid burn, that would be 1995. That's when hackers came out, right? I keep forgetting. I keep wanting to say 92. Yeah, it was 95. Right there. Hello. I had such a crush when I was a kid. Let's see. 95, I would have been 11 years old. Yeah, I had 11-year-old me had a massive crush on 1995 Angelina Jolie before she had all the surgery. Right. What is our recon agent doing here? It is doing an nmap scan. Truth. I only speak the truth, sir. I try to anyway. Except when I'm doing a social engineering engagement. I need to boot my chair up. I think the honey badger was messing with my chair. It was sitting low. Everybody who doesn't know, honey badger is my 3-year-old. He used to be called APT, the Advanced Persistent Toddler. Okay, so we did get an error here because I think some of the code didn't. Yeah. And that's fine. We needed to go through and double check the validator here. And this is what I was expecting because we renamed a key value. So let's go over to the recon validator. Mind if I pick your brain? Absolutely, man. What I'm here for. The company is just an excuse to get on the stream. Really, it's just so people can come ask questions. Can we test and retry? I'm not sure, actually. We might be able to rerun from here if we modify the code and it'll hot patch. So let's come down to Le Validator. All right, so here's the validator code. Using simple logic, explain to me why dividing by 0 doesn't work. So the problem for that is it's undefined and you can derive a logical contradiction. And so in mathematics, anything that creates a logical contradiction cannot be what it is. And so let's see if I can remember something real quick, because there's a perfect example of this. So originally you would think like, hey, dividing by 0 would kind of tend towards something like infinity, right? I'm trying to remember if I can remember the exact example of why this doesn't work. Let's see if I can remember it offhand. So let's say, for example, so let's say we had a function, right? So if we said like f of x equals, I don't know, some number, we'll say just 1 divided by x. Then as x kind of approaches 0, what happens? Well, our graph kind of looks like this, right? So as we start dividing by smaller and smaller numbers, we start getting huger and huger values, right? So it kind of comes like this right here. And then it starts getting really tiny. And then the same thing here. So so the first way to look at it is, if we look at this, we don't have matching infinities. If for some reason, like we had a function that looked like this, we could say, hey, by the way, this kind of just goes to infinity. But the problem is now once you start hitting like these negative, really tiny numbers, you start hitting negative. So you've got this kind of like dissection right here where it doesn't really matter. But if we want to try to think about this in simple terms, since I am a math nerd, and now you can fill in your bingo cards, everybody, because I hadn't talked about math tonight. What you could say is, let me see if I can think of a contradiction here. Because I could muddle through it, but I was trying to see if I could find the exact example. You know it, baby. Let's see. Well, I was trying to see if I could find the exact proof. Yeah, there we go. So if they get to participate, so do I. No, you can do that, man. What if I told you I already got an AI that's simulating a quantum computer? I mean, that'd be pretty awesome. Yeah, but since you were asking about the divide by zero thing, if you start with something like, let's say you have a times b is also going to be equal to a squared, right? So we're not going to go through any kind of implications of this. But what we could do is we could say, okay, well, if we just subtract a b from both sides, so now we've got, that's a q squared. That's just, my handwriting is atrocious. But a squared minus b, right? We come through and do here, b squared. And then what we do is we factor out a b, right? So we do b, then we have a minus b, and then we've got, we can factor this one out. So this would be a plus b times a minus b right here. And then what we do is we divide this a minus b, right? So we just cancel that out of both sides. So now what we've got is b is going to be equal to let's see. Yeah, b is going to just be equal to a plus b, right? So now what this also tells us, though, is that b is also going to be equal to 2a right here, or 2b, because we know that a is equal to b, right? So what we tell this, though, is that basically 1 would be equal to 2. And so this is a contradiction where you just can't have this. We know 1 is not equal to 2. It could be in certain modulos, but in reality, working through regular base 10 mathematics, you come across this contradiction. And I wish I could remember this offhand. I always have to go look it up. But whenever you're working through this, if you ever come up with a situation where you've got like some solid number, like a 1, and is equal to some other solid number that's not a 1, then you've got a contradiction in there and something in your mathematical steps is incorrect. And so in this case, b was equal to 2 for this one. Bingo. My simple solution is just saying that dividing by 0 equals 0. So we're in this off AI. For some reason, it works and it claims the software would work on hardware built on a quantum computer. Didn't you drop the cross term there? I may have. I probably screwed it up. I'm trying to read it off a very tiny example. Yeah, essentially. I always remember this proof, but I always screw it up. I'm trying to remember if I can we could get this. Oh, okay. Actually, there was a part I actually left off here, and that is we say, let's start with, we have a equal to b here, right? Multiply both sides by a, and what happens is now you've got my horrible handwriting, but then you've got a times b, it's gonna be a squared, right? And then when you factor out, you cancel, and then when you come across, then it's like, okay, well now we substitute a and b here, so b is equal to 2b. We get this back. So essentially what's happening here is when we divide this, right? What is a minus b? Well, a minus b is equal to a minus a, which is 0. So you've divided by 0 whenever you do this step. So this is the step that actually breaks it right here. This is the divide by 0. To be or not to be. In this case, it was to be. Oh, let's go see what the language model ended up doing, if it decided to go crazy on us. Oh, that's right. We had a task error in here. Given that it's already 11:30, and I'm surprised Sock hasn't come in to yell at me. Sock is my wife, by the way. She's the supportive, organized caregiver. I think that's probably where we're going to have to wrap it up tonight. So we'll come through and we'll address this error here later. I've got to close a bunch of these tabs, though. I have like 10,000 tabs open. So let's go see if we can find anybody to raid. Is anybody on InfoSec streams by chance? Ooh, we have a new person. 0x Trust. Let me see. Tab jungle for the win. Dude, I have it's a sickness. I'm down with the tab sickness. Oh, Trust is doing some fun stuff. Okay. Well, he's away right now. I kind of want to wait for him to come back though, and then just like drop a massive raid on him. I'm gonna try to ask in Discord for recommendations to pass the certified encryption specialist on the first try. Certified encryption specialist? I hadn't seen that, Chris. Drop me a link to the course on that, because that's a completely new one to me. Let me go ahead and kill the try hack me box for now. Yeah, so what we'll do is we pick up, depending on how the news cycle is on Tuesday night stream, we might pick this up on Tuesday night. If not, we'll get it again on Saturday. I was watching him earlier. I'm glad I caught you the last 30 minutes. Oh yeah, thanks, man. Dude, I have a great time with it, and I like folks coming in to ask questions too, because there's a lot of folks that they might not just have anybody else to ask questions about. So at least on here, it's shareable. The knowledge kind of gets around. Then, all right, let me go look at that. EC Council Certified Encryption Specialist. Let me go look at this. Let's see. Program is designed to introduce professionals and students to the intricate field of cryptography, covering a broad spectrum of topics, delves into modern symmetric key cryptography, detailed insights into beastal networks, data encryption standards, advanced encryption standards, so DES and AES. Students gain familiar with a variety of other algorithms, including Blowfish, Twofish, Skipjack, Cast, T, and more. Curriculum extends to information theory basics and applied to cryptography, covering essential concepts such as hashing algorithms and asymmetric cryptography for the in-depth discussion of RSA. Ooh. Oh, also goes through Elgamal, elliptic curve, and DSA. Very neat. I'd be interested to know what the curriculum looks like in here. What do they have a syllabus on it? Hey, Sin, what's up, man? This was a big hit. I'm writing similar ransomware based on the AVX accelerator. Ransomware gangs increasingly using Skitnet post exploitation malware. All right, I'm going to hang on to that one for Tuesday night's news stream. Really, I'm just waiting for Trust to come back. Oh, he's back. Sweet. All right, guys, when we go in there and raid him, do me a favor. Either drop in some Cookie Monsters, or at least drop in some Happy Hackers. Drop in one of those two. Just like flood him. Drop some Hack the Planets in there. But unfortunately, that's where I've got to end it for tonight. Let me go ahead and get the raid started up on him. Raid him. In fact, he just pwned a box. That's awesome. Yes, support of Cookie Monsters inbound. Everyone, y'all have a great rest of your week. No cases of the Mondays. I want y'all to have a cases of the absolutely wrecking it, and just get after it. I know y'all can do that. And I want y'all to remember one thing. Actually, two things. One, y'all are awesome for coming to hang out, and I really appreciate y'all. It always makes it a great time when we got folks in here asking questions. I super appreciate it. And the second thing I want you to remember is that I love you. Peace.